Hey guys, it's Miss Gephardt, and we're going to go through and do our notes today on different types of pathogens, things that are going to get us sick. So your note sheet's broken up into viruses, bacteria, parasites, and fungi. So we're going to do two of them together, the viruses and the bacteria, and then we'll do the other two together. So let's start with the virus. So a virus is going to be a very small particle. And we think small, you're like, oh, well, small as a pen. No, we're talking so small that we're going to have to use a high-powered microscope to be able to see it. Okay, so it's so very, very tiny, and yet it can cause so much problems in our body. A virus is very simple. All it is it's going to be protein and hereditary material. That's it. Okay, and so this is kind of this little like structure, the Lego-y looking structure thing. That's what a virus kind of looks like. In terms of how it's going to affect you, a virus works like a lock and a key. It kind of has that setup. So the virus right here, we can think in here, okay, has a key. And it's going to go around, and once it gets inside of you, and it's going to go around and it's going to try to unlock doors, okay? And those doors are your cell membranes. If it can unlock the cell membrane, it now is able to make more of itself. If it can't, then it moves on. Okay, so that's why sometimes you might be exposed to a cold virus and it might be inside of you, but you're not getting sick because it can't get inside to cause the damage. Okay, so what happens is once that virus is unlocked, so right here, it's unlocked that door, it's going to actually take the DNA, its viral DNA, and it's going to inject it into the cell. Okay, so it takes it right here, bloop, injects the DNA, so DNA now is inside the cell. Okay. The virus is going to actually use the cell to make copies. So the virus doesn't have to make its own copies, it just makes your cell do it for it. So the virus is going to inject the DNA into the cell, and the cell's going to make more viruses. Okay? These new viruses are going to be they're going to be inside the cell. They're going to keep on duplicating and duplicating and duplicating until the cell can no longer hold it, and then the cell bursts. And guess what? All of those viruses go off and find another cell and unlock that cell and do that again. Okay. So now we got to think of something that we want to kind of put terms to is whether or not a virus is alive. Okay, because it's acting very much like a living organism. But what you need to understand is that viruses are not living. They're not living. Okay, because they have to have something else help them reproduce, help them maintain homeostasis. What homeostasis just means balance. Okay, so they can't do anything for themselves. A virus just hangs out, and then it has to use your cells to do anything. Okay, when a virus is outside of a cell, viruses can remain dormant. When they're not inside, they can't do anything else. They're just waiting until they can finally unlock a door and push their DNA into your cell to make it do it. All right, so viruses aren't growing, they're not eating, they're not reproducing, they're not trying to maintain a balance like you are trying to maintain a balance right now to make sure you have enough oxygen and you have enough water and you have enough carbohydrates or whatever. Viruses aren't doing that. They're simply waiting to find a cell, inject the DNA, and move on. Okay, so they're not a living thing. That's something important to make sure you understand because the other stuff that we talk about today will be considered living. Okay. All right, so these are some examples of viruses, probably ones that you have heard of before. So obviously, we've all probably heard of HIV, human immunodeficiency virus. Okay, so this is HIV. What it's going to do is it's a virus that's going to come in and it's going to cause damage to your body. It's going to attack the immune system, and it leads to the, I probably just wrecked the HIV part of it, but it leads to AIDS. And so that's what it's going to do. It's the virus that will eventually cause the disease AIDS. But what you see here is the virus is all these little green things. Okay. Influenza, the flu. Okay. If you've ever had the flu, this is what the flu virus looks like. And then H1N1. That's what an H1N1 virus looks like. So if you've ever been affected by a virus, these are different examples. Now we're going to move from viruses. That's the only non-living thing that we're going to talk about as a bad thing today. We're going to move to bacteria, and I'm actually going to have to escape out of here, and I'm going to have to go to another slide presentation, okay? So here are bacteria. All right, now this is we're going to go through and talk about different types of bacteria. A bacteria now, so now we're into living things. A bacteria is considered prokaryotic, and we heard of the term prokaryotic when we talked about cells. We have prokaryotic and eukaryotic. Okay, so prokaryotic are very simple organisms, like a bacteria. That means that they have no nucleus. Their DNA is just free floating. They don't have all the organelles that your cells do. Bacteria are considered unicellular, which means that they are one-celled, and they can be found anywhere. There's bacteria on this, there's bacteria on my pen, there's bacteria everywhere, okay? We're going to find it in the soil, you're going to find it in the water, airborne bacteria that you breathe in. You can find on your body, on your skin, all in your digestive tract. These are different bacteria that you see within this drawing, or not this drawing, this microscopic view. So those are all bacteria, okay? And what size and shape are them? So I'm going to move some of these around just a little bit so that we can see things. Actually, let me move myself because I'm kind of in the way here. But we have these bacteria, okay? And bacteria are very small. They're not quite as small as a virus is, and that's kind of a big deal to kind of understand. But here we have, this is a red blood cell, okay? And this little guy right here, that little rod-shaped thing, that is that right there. That's the bacteria, okay? Now, viruses would all be very, very, very smaller, much smaller than a bacteria. But that's a bacteria in comparison to a red blood cell. You have millions of them on you right now, probably on your skin right now, right here. Okay, not right here, millions of them, but all over you. They come in 3 different shapes, so they can be spherical, rod-shaped, or spiral. And so, and I added that here. I'll take that off. We don't need that. But these are the different shapes of the bacteria. So we can see here's a rod-shaped one. Here's a spherical one. Sphere being, like a ball. And then, of course, we have a spiral-shaped one. So that's something to know for a test or an EOG, that they come in 3 different shapes. So if you see them refer to a rod shape, they're talking about a bacteria. Okay, how do they reproduce? They're going to reproduce by something called binary fission, which binary fission is almost like mitosis in a sense. The bacteria, it'll be 1, okay? And then they need to reproduce, and then they have 2. Okay, so there are 2 types of reproduction. There's sexual reproduction and there's asexual reproduction. And bacteria reproduce asexually, which means they don't need 2 to do it. They only need 1. Where like animals, we have a mom and a dad. Okay, in bacteria, there's not a mom and a dad. It's just 1 bacteria and it separates into 2, and that's called binary fission. And so with that means that bacteria can reproduce really quickly. Some species of bacteria can divide every 5 minutes, which means after only 3 hours, one bacterial cell can become 68 billion bacterial cells. This is how bacteria can spread very quickly and get you very sick very quickly. Okay. And so this is binary fission. This is the 1, and it duplicates into 2. So it really is like a mitosis, but it's actually considered reproduction. It just only involves 1, not 2 parents only itself. It's just splitting in 2. Okay, so now harmful bacteria, helpful bacteria. Helpful bacteria are going to be found in things you eat. Okay, we've got helpful bacteria. Ooh, it's going crazy. Oh, it's going insane. Let me make that a little bit bigger. Sorry. Oh, come on. There we go. All right, so some bacteria eat other harmful substances. So bacteria aren't always bad, okay? We always hear about them being bad because they make people sick, but we have them, good bacteria is going to eat things that are bad inside of you. They might eat viruses. They might eat other harmful bacteria. Other bacteria help organisms release vitamins or nutrients. We've got things like this Yoplait yogurt. They contain bacteria. Think about cheeses and different things like that. They contain bacteria. Those cultures so that they get inside of us. It helps maintain the integrity of the yogurt, but it also will get inside and it will sort of work through your digestive tract and keep you free flowing. Okay. But of course, there's always the thing that everybody knows about, and that's that bacteria can be bad. Okay, they enter the body, and when they're not supposed to, and they cause some kind of infection. We can breathe it in. We can eat something. You can cut your finger and get bacteria in through the skin. Okay, they cause fever, swelling, a rash, and that's an indication that your body's fighting some kind of infection. An example of it is E. coli. And E. coli is going to be often found. You guys might most associate it with like ground beef. So if I don't cook ground beef really good, okay, and it's really kind of bloody red on the inside, like your hamburger's bloody red, you can have E. coli bacteria, and it actually can shut your kidneys down. It can kill you. Okay, so whenever you eat food, like a ground beef, like a hamburger, you always want to make sure it is cooked properly. And you're not even, if you look at it and you're like, oh wow, that's really, really red on the inside, put it back on the grill and cook it a little bit longer. It's safer to be longer because E. coli is really not something you want to mess with. All right, this is the end of the first two sets of notes. If you'll make sure you watch the second video so you can get the rest. If you have any questions, please make sure you ask your teacher, and we'll talk to you later.